One fish, two fish, red fish, dead fish. Coming up on the Fraudcast. God.
Hold on.
Words.
Take your
Words
drink.
Are hard.
I know that there are listeners out there who are playing a drinking game where they take a drink every time there's an awkward laugh.
I have to
what do they call it? A forced laugh or an awkward pause? Yeah,
what?
people are gonna get liquored tonight.
Oh yeah, listening to this. If they did a drinking game every time I laughed or Hanakawa laughed or there was an awkward pause, like we'd be killing our listeners apparently because that's all the show is about.
Well, after a few drinks, they're not going to be able to care.
Exactly.
It's true.
I mean,
exactly, and our ratings will go way up.
the care meter
Awesome.
goes down. They'd be like, I was listening and I just started having a good time. I don't even know where the ending was. So, yeah.
Right. And that's how you should listen. You know, fire up a blunt, pour yourself some White Claw, enjoy what, you know, agency is going to educate us on this week. And
cheers, bitches.
And what we're going to have to excuse him for next week.
right.
And she's dead. Dead fish.
Dead fish. And she's dead.
All I can think about is Finding Nemo, where she shook the bag so hard the fish died.
Yes.
Yeah,
yes.
That's basically.
How was that scene? Like, do we think, what's our armchair psychology? Do we think that Drusilla is a serial killer because she wanted the dead fish and no head in her bag?
No, she's just a very honest kid.
She wanted the dead fish.
Do you know all the morbid things that come out of kids' mouth? I think people forget. Like all the things that come out of kids' mouth, and you look at them like, did you just say that?
That's not indicative of psychopathy. It's just dead fish with no head.
See, I interpreted that as she thought she was buying like the family dinner, and she didn't know it was going to have its head chopped off.
No,
like,
she was excited about that.
Like I thought for her, it's like I'm helping. I'm picking out our food tonight, as opposed to here's my pet. The headless fish.
She's used to foraging. She's like, fish is food, not friend, right? So
yeah.
Oh, awkward laugh. Drink.
She'd hit it with a rock to make sure it was dead. You know, that's how feral children
she's like,
work,
I finished her off, mommy.
It was still flopping in the
You don't have to
wind.
worry about it anymore. I'm like, okay.
All right, can I say the first thing that's going to get us in trouble?
Oh, God.
I thought that on the show that Drusilla looked like she was a lot closer with Devin's mom than with Devin. Like, I noticed more warmth between the two of them than between her and her mother.
That's because grandma is a tier above.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. Like,
It's
if
just
you
how it
were to
is,
watch
absolutely.
me and my kid and my kid would be hanging on my mom like he loves her so much, but grandma just wins because they give him cookies and prizes and stuff. Mm-hmm. And mom makes them do their homework.
There's a certain relationship between grandma and the kid that doesn't exist between mom and the kid.
Well,
right?
also Drusilla's just like around Devin's mom all the time. If you look at Devin's mom's Instagram, like Drusilla's always there.
She babysits her while Devin works her 17 hours a day. So
that's what I'm saying.
And I mean, she's enjoying her grandkids, right? Like she has her own. You know, she's still raising Devin's sister, but she's enjoying her grandbabies, right? Like this is what grandparents do. I don't remember how old she is. I want to say she's a teenager, but no, I mean. Mother Devin is really enjoying her grandbabies. And that's, I think, completely normal. That's what you see tons of pictures of them all the time because she's out there enjoying them. She homeschools this Devin's sister. She's home. She's taking care of the babies. She gets to spend time with her grandbabies. And I think that is normal. So
this is kind of a preview for what's going to come up in the show. But do you guys know why Polynesian culture is so popular in Utah? And I know that like our two listeners from Utah are going to jump up my butt about talking about Utah again.
Well, I mean, I lived in Hawaii, and there's a huge Mormon culture there because the missionaries went out there and populated it.
Well, they also have the Polynesian Cultural Center.
Yeah.
In Hawaii, but that's because
that's on the Mormon land. Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's because the Mormons believe that Polynesians are descendant of the ancient Israelites. That also inhabited the North American continent, according to the Book of Mormon.
Okay.
Yeah. So there's some tidbit of history. I feel like we should have the sound effect for the more you know.
The more you know.
Why use those expensive words? Just use the simple words.
And now it's time to bring you inside the episode. Speaking of Southern Utah Mormons.
Speaking of Polynesian dancing.
Speaking of, Asuelu, our buddy from Samoa, actually has a full-time job.
You mean selling frozen yogurt samples?
No,
handing out, I should say.
He actually has a legitimate job.
What?
So let's break this down for you guys. Someone posted on Reddit a picture of a billboard outside Zion National Park near St. George, which is near St. George, Utah, which is where Kalani and Asuelu live. And it was a picture of Asuelu connected to this troupe that does kind of Polynesian cultural dance and cultural events at Zion National Park. And what we've been able to discover is that he's been working there since at least 2018, because that's where the first pictures of him emerged on their Instagram feed. That's pretty consistent with them having a summer or early fall wedding, between them getting married and him being able to get his work authorization after they adjusted off the K1. So that's perfectly in keeping with their time frame from season 6. He doesn't do just dance performances. He also does cultural events and lessons, because there's pictures of. I mean, he's all over their Instagram feed, and even he on his Instagram feed has plugged his appearances, and they've tagged each other. This isn't a secret. I guess
it's like an open secret, right?
An open secret.
Like you go, you go and look at this page, and he is all over it.
All over it.
I remember I saw one on there where he was teaching a dance lesson, and they said, "Oh, here are your lessons. You can come in and get lessons here, and come see this performance and come see that performance." And he's in all these pictures of the dance troupe. So what does this mean, though? What does this mean for us?
Well, so let's kind of we have to do a little bit of thinking, a little bit of analysis on this.
I don't want to think. Can you do the thinking for me?
Of course. So we don't really know how much he gets paid from this. Some people have speculated that maybe it's not much, maybe it's, who knows. I did a quick Google search for salaries for performers in St. George, Utah, and the median salary that popped up was about $50,000 a year. Maybe he makes that much. Maybe it's more like 30, maybe it's 40, but
I wonder if it's more since he's well known. I mean, I can imagine them going, "Hey, you might bring some traffic." Who knows if his popularity or being on the show has drawn people to come watch.
I'd listen. If I was in Southern Utah, I would go watch one of those shows to see Asuelu.
And I don't know the cost of living in Southern Utah, but I feel like $50,000 a year is pretty good there.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like if you combine what he's making from that, let's say it's even 30 or 50,000. Combine that with the money they get from appearing on the show, plus whatever they're making off Cameo. Plus the fact that they don't pay for their house because she lives at her parents' vacation home in St. George. That's comfortable money. That's good. That's good living. St. George, Utah has a very low cost of living. It's a really nice place. You've got beautiful nature out there. But so from that alone, he's pulling in good money for them. So what's the implication of this? Why the hell do we even care? Well, it's because the story we're being painted on Happily Ever After is that Asuelu is this man-child lazy bum, and it's just not true. Like, why is he out hours at a time playing sports with other Samoans? Well, it's because he needs to stay in shape in order to perform, or he's rehearsing with them. Like, it makes perfect sense. I would count on
rehearsal.
Yeah.
Because doing any kind of performance takes a lot of time in rehearsal hours, like a lot.
And he has to stay in shape. He actually has to make sure that because he performed shirtless, like when he appeared at the Salt Lake airport. When that guy likes to rip off his shirt.
Well, and they don't necessarily have to be buff. Like, that's an image that is not put upon the performers. But you at least have to be fit enough to complete the dance without heaving over in a corner. So.
Right, and that stuff's pretty cardiovascular intense.
Yeah, your cardio, you got to be on point.
There's a certain physicality that he has to maintain, so it makes sense that he's out all the time doing that. So just the storyline's complete crap. Asuelu's not this like man baby who wants to play Xbox all day, you know, and basically like he's like a glorified high school senior passing out froyo. Like he has a legit job. He's legit bringing in money for his family. He's legit, you know, doing real stuff. So the whole premise of their story on Happily Ever After is garbage.
Well, they basically make him seem like he's just a Walmart greeter.
Yeah, and he's not. He's not a Walmart greeter.
And that's all he can do. So,
yeah. Like
it doesn't change his views. I mean, we don't know if what he said in that car ride was his true opinion, but
or if it was just amped up for the show, for the drama. But like one of the foundational pillars of their story we know is not true. So what does that mean for the rest of it? It's hard. It
all starts falling down. Yeah, when you get something that's that fundamental to their storyline, it really calls into question so many aspects of the storyline. Yeah. And like so we know that this is big TLC fraud here, right? This is a major TLC fraud, you know, but it's funny because it is this open secret, right? Like they didn't hide it that he's part of this thing. So
they really didn't try very hard.
Speaking of other lies, so more lies, tiny houses, tiny lies. This week we saw Paul and Carini moving into the tiny house, which is this tiny house on the trailer park.
It's somewhere off one of the interstates in Louisville. It's either off 64, 65, or 264,
it's a 265. Mobile home park, a trailer park, right?
Yeah.
And they're in this house that's there. They do not currently live at that house anymore. They lived there for a very brief time, but they moved out for a variety of reasons, some of which I don't know if I'm authorized to reveal. I guess I shouldn't even say that because then I'm just a tease. I'm a tease. But they lived there very briefly. They moved out. You can tell that they are not in that house anymore with any of the lives that Paul does or TikToks.
The haunting videos, TikToks.
You can tell that they're in an actual house with rooms and hallways and things like that. So
yeah, he does haunting videos. Have you seen those?
Yeah.
Yeah. And most people comment that they're just surprised everything's clean. I'm like, you guys.
Poor Paul. We love you, Paul.
But
I love Paul. I just turned an article into my editor about my love for Paul. So,
oh dear.
Dear. I'm a little irritated. TLC said no to him participating and getting quotes from him about the article. So
I wonder why.
And now it's time for the fraud so far.
I don't think I have that full soulmate feeling.
This is the segment in which we bring you up to speed on all of the couples that we're seeing on Happily Ever After. This week we tackle Tanya and Sinjin and Libby and Andre. Unfortunately, it's not literally tackling them because I would like to punch out Libby and Andre if I could. How about Tanya and Sinjin? How did they get in our
that is
TVs?
A threat of violence. Tanya and Sinjin. I think. Oh goodness, this is the hard one because a lot of people like Sinjin and a lot of people hate Tanya,
which I have a big problem with. My issue. Everyone's always like, "Oh, poor Sinjin, poor Sinjin." And I'm like, you know what? No, I have no sympathy for Sinjin. He's dumb. He chose her. He's whatever. Like he's an adult who made this choice to be with her. I have no sympathy for him.
I don't think I have sympathy for him. I just think that his personality jives better with people, and Tanya's doesn't.
Well, yeah, that's true.
I don't think it's even about him being subjected to her. It's just people like him better.
I have an issue with the fact that not everyone hates Tanya. Who likes her?
Of course you do. So Tanya and Sinjin are the newest couple on Happily Ever After. They're joining in. Is this the quickest? I don't know. They're joining in after their season ended from
season 7.
Yeah,
before the 90. No, regular 90. Yeah.
There's so many. I forget where the heck they started.
They were on the most recent normal season.
Right. So Sinjin is from South Africa, and Tanya is from Connecticut, and is usually compared to the part of the banana that no one wants to eat, aka Satan's anus. So their story revolves around how awful Tanya is And she also, so yeah, their whole story basically anchored around her leaving him for 30 days in the middle of their 90 days. And her constant badgering of him to get a job and grow up and etc.
Well, in the meantime, she went to Costa Rica to study witchcraft.
And he's
more or
not
less.
And he's not her soulmate. And she's like, whatever, I guess. If you want me to call you and let you know I'm safe, but I'm going to be busy screwing my salsa instructor. So sorry if I can't get back to you.
Maybe the salsa dancer was her soulmate.
No, she said her first boyfriend was her soulmate.
Yeah, well, I mean, no, the salsa dancer was probably her bedmate, at least for one night.
Do you guys think she really screwed the salsa dancer?
Well, we don't know that she didn't.
Oh my God. That is going to be the argument today.
With that.
We're not sure if it's not true. There was a little, I guess I had thought in the beginning that the Costa Rica timeline was totally bogus. Because for me, I didn't believe that something that outrageous would have actually happened. I'm serious. Like, who the fuck leaves midway through that and then comes back and it's like, oh my God, we don't have much time. It's like, ugh.
Tanya does.
I can't with her.
Yeah, but apparently she actually did.
She actually did, which I think just made people go, oh, she actually is a terrible person. So that's them. There's not much fraud. There's just a lot of, I don't know, disliking of Tanya, liking of Sinjin.
I don't know.
Sinjin's lives have been great. Like, he's kept people guessing what the status of their relationship is.
Oh, okay.
Remember? Because he did that one drunk live and he was joking around how they were separated and he wasn't wearing his ring. And
I'm single.
Oh my God. And then there was like multiple Home Depot sightings and we thought they were upgrading their shed. So yeah, there's those two keep us on our toes, but that's really all that there is. There was
that sighting. Oh yeah, speaking of Tanya and Sinjin, there was the Tanya and Sinjin sighting that we talked about last week, where they were allegedly arguing or something.
Oh yeah, you made a post of them at the airport, which to their defense,
they weren't at the airport. They were just walking.
They had suitcases in their hand.
Did they?
Who just walks with suitcases?
I didn't see suitcases.
I saw suitcases. And my first thought was, who doesn't argue at the airport?
But it wasn't the airport. It was on a street.
Well, then where are they carrying suitcases?
Where the fuck are you getting suitcases from?
Maybe they got evicted.
Oh my
God. House. It's a house.
Now I have to go back to your post to see.
And all the commentary was about her not wearing a bra.
That's always what people are talking about.
Oh yeah,
that's the first thing I stare at is her tits.
You can't help it.
You're not the only one.
Maybe there's no luggage. It looked like there was luggage.
He has a backpack on there in front of a house.
Well, let me tell you. Listen, to your point, you may not have seen the suitcases, but she has a lot of baggage.
She does have a lot of baggage. There's a lot of Tanya hate around here, around the interwebs when it comes to
now I want to know what's in his backpack. But anyways, I digress.
Also, you posted on Instagram that either he or both of them were like took a break and went to this place in upstate New York that also happened to be a shed. It's like, this guy cannot escape living in a shed.
Well, it was his first love when he got over here.
Our research intel on him from like when we were researching him before they came on the show, we were just looking into all their backgrounds. He was one of these guys who wants to like live naked in the woods off the land. So living in a shed is an upgrade.
Could you imagine them on Naked and Afraid? God,
I think Sinjin would fucking rock Naked and Afraid.
That would be awesome.
He would.
One thing about Sinjin and Tanya is they are always posting throwbacks, so you cannot go by their Instagram of what they're doing as being what they're doing now, because they're always posting. Remember that one time we visited a tree house? And it's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, and they're also really good at doing the thing that TLC likes them to do, which is keep their social media in line with what is happening on the show. Currently, even though what we're seeing on the show isn't real time, it was filmed a while ago. So they're pretty good at keeping up the ruse of whatever is happening on the show is happening in real time on their Instagrams. Yeah,
because they enjoy the money a lot. So
yes,
I feel like they're one of the ones that go by the books because the cash is very important to them.
Somebody else loving the TLC cash is the Libby and Andre and family Libby.
Oh, those are your two favorites.
Oh, God. Libby is from Tampa, Florida, and Andre came out of the same turd wad that spawned Tanya. I mean, I'll be honest. Everybody hates these two. Everybody wants them to go away. They're boring, and everything with this season is completely fake and staged. We know that from past sources, multiple sources that talk about this. Another way to say it is their segments are the most scripted reality of all the couples. We know this. We know that Chuck and Andre get along fine. Their storyline is that they don't get along. I can hardly even watch their scenes. Like this whole Moldova wedding was a big ruse that Chuck was trying to use to get a spinoff like Family Chantal. They wanted a spinoff of the Family Libby. And they're trying to make that happen with this whole Moldova trip. And it just, I can't with them. So I really have nothing to say about them, except that everything about them is terrible. Their baby's cute. I'll give them that.
I think I'm more annoyed. I know this is just the show antics, but the whole, like, they're already married. Mm-hmm. So you trying to figure out who Andre is like, that ship has sailed. Just get married in Moldova and go home.
Yes,
Eat
exactly.
the food and go home. It's delicious, I'm sure.
So is there a Walmart here? Is there American barbecue here?
Were you really a cop? He's like, if I tell you, I'm going to have to string you up. So stop asking the damn question.
I thought them trolling him was really funny.
But it doesn't matter, and they, knowing what we know in real life, they're fine. They get along just fine. But like, even if you're going along with the storyline, they are already married. They have a kid. That ship has sailed. Bye-bye.
Do you think their fights are fake, or do they actually like talk like that to each other, Libby and Andre?
I feel like they talk like that way to each other.
Yeah, I feel like either that or he like honestly puts all his heart in being the most annoying husband for the TV, because like the little bickering that they do just seems too real.
All right, and now we take you to Katrina's court. So this week I was torn between two subjects. As usual, there's always at least two that are gonna drive me batshit crazy, and so I'm torn. First one I was torn between was Tim and Melisa. And not Melisa, but Tim. That's Cheese Dick or Cheese Man, Cheese Dick. And
did you say cheese stick?
Yes, sure. That's what I said.
Okay, and that enunciation is important with that.
Sure. Let's say that's what I said.
Okay.
So this whole conversation about, I mean, I'm still irritated that he cheats on this girl who's obviously a good woman. She's like, you know, she's beautiful, she's well-spoken, she's articulate, she seems to have a good head on her shoulders, like, and then him like, you know, and derping along in Colombia and saying, oh, I didn't know what was going to happen when I invited this girl that I've been flirting with over, and she's just like, that's bullshit, right? And then him, I was tired of the distance but couldn't tell you, so it's your fault, I needed to fulfill my physical needs. That whole thing was bullshit. You know, trying to make it about her, that it was her fault he cheated on her. That's I just can't. But they were not the winner this week. The winner this week is the clear evildoer here is David from Before the 90 Days Strikes Back when he went after Molly. You leave our Molly alone. She's one of our queens and you will respect her as such. Calling her out for being single, says the guy who has to pay to talk to his fiance. Like, how's that engagement working out for you? You're going to sit there and you're going to say, oh, Molly, you're single. Like, no, you leave Molly alone. We're going to come for you. We're going to come after you with our pitchforks. Stop it. Don't touch our Molly. You're not allowed. There's a lot of people you control. Molly's not one of them. You don't touch her. You leave her alone. And I will sentence you to a lifetime of cleaning an actual cat box without having your $600 shit box for your cats.
Darn, I thought you were going to suspend him from his dating app for like a month.
Oh.
No computer for you.
Right.
No,
Taking away your Apple connection. Man. Intact.
Take away your inbox. I like that. I like that better. I sentence you to, 6 months for coming after Molly. You get 6 months of no access to the internet.
Tough times for David.
Tough times for
You also
David.
notice that David likes to brag about how much money he has?
Yeah, well, he's clearly not spending on his furniture.
It's a rental house, okay?
Furnished by Goodwill.
I mean, I didn't have to tell you.
Furnished by my grandma's asshole. We have these conversations over on our Patreon, and sometimes they're disturbing. So, I mean, if that's not a plug for our Patreon, I don't know what is.
No, you don't learn anything about me.
We talk about all variety of subjects over on the Patreon, you guys, and we learn lots of interesting tidbits about each other. But if that's not of interest to you, we do talk about lots of really cool, awesome things too over there. We have lots of great conversations over there. Patreon.com/thefraudcast. For just $3 a month, you can join, get 4 episodes a month of extra content from us. Some is 90-day related, some is reality TV related, some is all kinds of variety of stuff. And you have immediate access to our whole past library too.
All right. So for our social media roundup, this first one is about people leaving social media. We usually have the 2 or 3 that quit partway through the show. But I just happened to know from looking for Pol's Instagram that Carini's is deactivated again. Like she does this like peekaboo thing where it's up and then it's not up. So my one complaint is always that they announce their departure, but in her case, she didn't. Someone that kind of hinted at their departure was Kalani. She is going through some issues with depression, and so I think she is pulling away from social media.
That's probably smart, given how toxic the 90-day world is on social media.
Right. If you're really susceptible to things like that, sometimes you have to take that break.
Well, and the 90-day fiance social media world is extraordinarily toxic. I mean, we're in it. I've been in it for a long time. I'm the recipient of a lot of hate. There's a lot of toxicity that happens, and you have to build up a certain tolerance to it. And I can only imagine, I mean, the comments that I get just having an Instagram and a podcast, the comments that people feel entitled to make about me because of that public presence. I mean, the comments I get about my eyebrows, if I had a nickel for every time somebody bashed my eyebrows, then, I'd be rich and I wouldn't have to do this, right? Well, not like I make any money on this, but the entitlement people feel about saying stuff about me just because I have those 2 platforms. I can't imagine what it's like when you are on the TV show. I see a lot of the comments that people make in their comment section and on other posts. I can't imagine the levels of toxicity and hatred that they get directly.
Well, and for them too, when you're on the show, a lot of people take what's on the show very literal. Mm-hmm. And so their responses on comments are more like, you need to get, your husband checked. He might have mental issues. Things like that are just, it's whatever. But I think her taking a break is probably good. So don't announce your departure. Next on my list is Eric. Eric of Eric and Larissa is having a virtual garage sale. And he's selling everything.
Everything.
Pool furniture, his car, a bike, the house.
Yeah, the house is listed.
The house is listed. Where I saw this from, because I don't do the Facebook so much anymore. At Reality TV, that's spelled TEAVEE, posted on their page if you want to see what he's asking for. I think what got me the most is him announcing that the house was featured on national television. I was just kind of like, but you only saw the living room, right?
Well, we saw the bedrooms.
But we didn't see, like, the outside. Like, no one's going to drive past this house and go, oh, that's the house from 90 Day Fiance.
It looks like every other house in Las Vegas.
It just looks like a house.
Yeah.
But, yeah, so he's selling things. I'm assuming his OnlyFans isn't kicking off as well as he thought it would be.
But it should be.
It should be.
I saw the content. I saw some content from it, and oh boy.
So, yeah, I can't. Crossing over to Jess and Debbie, throwing shade at each other on Instagram via their stories. Debbie made a story calling her an evil redheaded vixen and very powerful sexuality.
I think she's just jealous.
That's actually a compliment, isn't it? Is that
The
how's
way
that throwing
she-
shade?
I know. I was like, I wouldn't be offended by that, but she
She,
kind of
like,
like
own it.
pokes it. If she pokes at her just wanting Colt for a green card, I'm like, you know, a
Listen.
green card wouldn't even be worth the trade to deal with him.
Yeah. There was some side commentary with Larissa talking about, haha, Debbie, you were trying to just split us up, but how Larissa and Jess ended up becoming friends out of this. Something like that. I don't
I'm just
know.
waiting for their joint OnlyFans.
Stop it.
They'd
Because
make
that would
money off that
that would
shit.
actually sell some subscriptions, I think.
It would. They can call they could call themselves like the Culty X's or something.
Stop it. What does Jess
my
call Colt? She has him.
Man baby. Baby man.
Oh, but that's not sexy.
Baby boy.
That's not,
Boy
that's
baby.
not sexy.
No.
Boy baby's not sexy
No.
at all.
No,
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean Jess
No.
goes for the slutty librarian look. That's kind of her image.
It works though.
She's hot.
Kind of.
I don't find Larissa particularly attractive. Like, she wouldn't be on my island, but just might make it. Well, thank you, Hanakawa, for that social media roundup. Going into all of it so we don't have to. And now it's time for Ask the Visa Officer.
All right, so I want to talk a little bit about. It was a very minor topic that came up on Happily Ever After, but I think it's worth commenting on, and that is Asuelu and his mother. Now, we learned that his mother is actually living in Washington State with his sister.
Which, by the way, this whole time he's screaming how homesick he is. I gotta go to Samoa, you know. Da, da, da. And his mom and sister have been living in Washington the whole time.
I know. It was like, oh, by the way, she lives there. It's like, but okay.
Where's this other? So this other more fraud about, you know, oh, he's so homesick. Well, I imagine he is homesick for Samoa, but
And his dad. He might have a really good relationship with his
Maybe
dad.
he's closer to his dad
Right.
than his mom, and I can see why, since
Absolutely.
she's, you know.
give me
Yeah.
the money, which I think was all just bullshit for the show, but whatever.
Could be.
Okay, continue.
So his mom is living in Washington State. So the question then becomes, well, why did Asuelu need a K-1 to come to the U.S. if his mother is living in Washington State? Why go through all that trouble? And the
That's a
reason
good
for that
question.
is the reason that the K-1
is it more of a pain in the ass to go through K1 than it would be to come over via chain migration with his mom?
Well, his mom can't petition for him as a green card holder. That's the reason. Only a U.S.
Okay.
citizen could petition for an adult son or daughter. So as a green card holder, you are able to petition for a spouse or for a minor child. But you're not allowed, but while American citizens can petition for parents, siblings, and adult children, green card holders are not permitted to. And even if she were a citizen and were to petition for him as an adult child of an American citizen, the wait time is many, many, many years. Those are numerically limited categories, and sometimes for some countries, the wait time is 25 years.
Wow.
So the K-1 is not numerically limited. It's much faster, so it was a much better option for him to get over if that was a goal of his that he has. So, but in case you're wondering, like, how does his mom being here impact his status or his ability to obtain status? The answer is not really in much of any way. And the reason that, we don't know how his mom is here. My guess is that she's here as what's known as an IR5, which is the parent of an American citizen. His sister probably has citizenship. And even then, if his sister petitioned for Asuelu in the F4 category, which is sibling of an American citizen, the wait time for that's about 8 to 10 years. So again, the K-1 made a lot more sense. So to the few of you who may have been wondering about that, that's the reason. So let's move on to some questions. The first question is from Instagram user _LadyVeteran. And this person asks, could Michael come to the U.S. on a student visa? The answer is no. And there's a few reasons for that. One is although I don't think the travel ban, I'd have to double check. I don't think it impacts all non-immigrant categories, but the real issue is that they would see a K-1 refused in their system, and they know that he's tried to immigrate in the past, and they would refuse him right out of hand.
Because they would think that he's trying to just use that as an end run around and still become an immigrant.
In the parlance of visas, he has demonstrated immigrant intent, and his situation has not changed sufficiently to demonstrate that he no longer has immigrant intent. So he would be refused almost immediately. So that's a good question. It is a good question. Even if he were to get into a legitimate program of study and Nigerians were otherwise able to travel to the U.S. on a student visa, because he does have a refused K-1 in the system, he would be seen as having immigrant intent and refused. Good question. The next question comes from Instagram user Bambi Knows Best. And Bambi Knows Best asks, how did Paul get Carini and Pierre here with a record and no money? Now, this is, I think, a reference to the fact that Paul had trouble getting permanent residence in Brazil because he had a criminal record. Well, first of all, Carini knows that Paul has a criminal record. So even if that information had to be disclosed to Carini, which under the category he applied for her under is not necessarily a requirement, she already knows about it. But since she's not applying for a K-1, the burden of disclosure is far less than with a K-1. So
because they were already married when he petitioned for her.
That's correct. The K-1s have the higher disclosure requirement. That doesn't apply. There can be some disclosure requirements. It's complicated. You have to go kind of deep in the rules, and that's not really worth discussing here. But she wouldn't have been, so and none of the things he was convicted of impact his ability to file a petition for a foreign spouse. As far as the money goes, he does have to make 125% of PIG in order to, for his family size, in order to sponsor her. And if he's able to either do it himself or obtain a co-sponsor like his mother or some other family member, then he'd have no problem with that requirement. Co-sponsors can be pretty easy to get.
I know that was the subject of a storyline, I believe, when they were on the last
Is it the other way
thing that they were on. Yeah. I think there was some talk at the very beginning when he was talking about, when he lost his job shoveling pig shit or whatever it was. And it was like, I don't have money, Mom, would you sponsor us? And I think she was saying no. I think that was part of the basis for him moving to Brazil instead of bringing pregnant Carini over at that time.
Yeah.
I think that was part of the, which of course the other way is all bullshit anyway, but that was the basis of that storyline, I think, was him asking his mom saying no. Of course, that was all just storyline, so we don't know if in real life she did, in fact. But plus, he has this, TLC payroll. They always forget about that on TV. They conveniently forget that they have TLC payroll coming in and TLC cameras following them around, which I know is a contention point for you.
Yes, it annoys the hell out of me.
As a side note.
It's a big pet peeve of mine.
Well, that would be breaking the reality, right? So, plus when they're filming...
It breaks kayfabe. And when they're... do that.
Yes.
When they're filming, they don't necessarily have the money, right? It's after filming, and almost the rest of it is after the tell-all. So it's not like they're getting a paycheck by week while they're filming. So I don't know.
It annoys me when they build storylines around employment when being on the show is their job.
Right.
Because it inherently is fraud or is a lie. Yeah. And that annoys me.
And then the other point we're making is that when the couples are walking around in like the foreign country and they're staring at me because I'm an American. No. Well, they're staring at you because you've got this gigantic film crew following you around.
Yeah. How many times have you stopped and stared at a film crew when you've seen one here in the U.S.?
Right.
The answer is
an extra.
Yeah. The answer is every time. So, yeah. Those two things get on my nerves. But anyway, back to Paul. He got a co-sponsor, whether it was his mom or his dad or an uncle or an aunt or a friend. Doesn't matter.
Or a sister.
Or a sister.
Who knows? He has a sister. Do you know Paul has a sister?
Now I do. So that's the answer. And the real thing is his criminal record doesn't impact his ability to petition. There are certain categories that do impact your ability to petition, but those are a narrow set of categories related to, generally speaking, sex crimes against minors. And if you remember us talking about the cast member who shall not be named, Jeffrey, we answered this question a bunch of times because people were really concerned if he could even petition for Varia with his background. And the answer is potentially not, but it requires a conviction. So,
but then also he's still married, so he can't petition anybody.
Yes,
that's the bigger issue.
That is the bigger issue.
And no, I don't have an update on his court date stuff.
And she would have to learn all the criminal stuff that he didn't tell her. She would find that out at a K1 interview, and she'd be given the opportunity to walk away. But we've covered this multiple times. If you really, really want like a canonical sort of explanation of this, send me a message on Instagram and maybe I'll do a video about it. But I need to get enough messages on Instagram and interest in order to do it, because I really don't like talking about Jeffrey.
Yeah.
He doesn't like you talking about him either, so watch out now.
Yeah, this is true. This is true. So we can just leave it at that and be done with it.
All right. Well, so if
they have questions, how do people get a hold of
you? You can either slide into my DMs on Instagram, or you can wait for my weekly question submission solicitation. Usually that happens on Mondays. So just keep.
And that's on Instagram.
Yes. Right now, I don't really have any other method for submitting questions. It's really all going through Instagram. That might change in the future, but as of now, that's going to be the place to do it. And if I didn't get to your question this week, don't worry. I might get to it in a future week, or I might use your question in a different piece of content. So don't worry. I read them all. I enjoy them all. Keep sending them. It's great. Thank you.
You're slowly starting to like Instagram.
No, I'm not.
It's not the toxic
is different
wasteland.
from using.
Yeah.
Tolerating. He's having fun. He's playing games. He's posting things. He's posting stuff soliciting user input. It's fun. He's having fun.
Figuring out how.
Don't let him tell you otherwise.
I'm figuring out how to make it work. Doesn't mean it's my favorite platform. But listen, I didn't say it
was your favorite platform. I just said you're starting to enjoy it.
I do appreciate everybody who has sent me stuff and asked questions and participated. That is that from me to you, XOXO.
It makes it worth suffering through it when people actually interact. And not the bots that say, like, do you want some jelly? You're like, what? the way some people respond to questions, you're like, hold on, what?
Or when you get people sliding into your DMs asking if you'd like 30,000 followers.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
please don't fall for that. Don't fall for that. And don't fall for the Yahoo boys who are...
Oddly enough, I don't get...
Do you get Yahoo Boys?
I don't.
His name isn't 90 days, so I think most of the messages I get are like, tell me how to be on the show. I want to find a wife. It's like, I can post this message and see who answers for you.
Those are the ones I get them sliding in my DMs over on my Just Frauded Instagram, my personal page. I get those, Yahoo Boys, and they like, you can tell when I'll get a new follower, and it's like the certain category of pictures. And there's always one that's like a bouquet of flowers, and then there's these other pictures which aren't his. And if I took the time to reverse image search them, they'd come up as whatever, catfish and stuff. But then they slide in my DMs, hello, most beautiful lady, and I'm like,
what's really odd? I don't know of any Yahoo girls. Are there Yahoo girls? Or you have to have a certain follower count?
No, I don't know. I mean, the equivalent would be like what they say about Larissa and Jess, right? The green card.
And like the roses and Jesses of the world?
I don't think there's any like... At least I haven't come across any. Most of the messages have been from men.
Yeah, well, I don't think you'd get Yahoo girls messaging you, but I get none.
Yeah.
So there you have it. Slide into his DMs. Make him feel like, a little relevant.
I'll just have them go talk to Usman.
Yeah, that would be great. A scammer DMing a scammer. If he fell for one of those like Nigerian prince scams or something like that.
Nigerian princess.
Yes.
I was watching, I got sucked into a YouTube rabbit hole of not documentaries, but like Australian 60 Minutes, which is really a great show. I highly recommend you guys go watch it because they do some really great stuff. These stories on Nigerian scammers and how they operate and things like that is really fascinating. Like they go to these internet cafes and they all work together about things to say to con the different men and women that they're talking to. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Anyway.
Are you thinking of starting up another side hustle?
No, I'm good. Thanks. I'm good. Speaking of side hustles, I do have some a piece of writing that will be coming out, being published soon, which I did some freelance writing in for a publication called The Dip, which is about TV, lots of TV related articles. Anyway, that should hopefully, I don't know when I have a publication date on that soon, but my editor has it in her hands now, so that'll be coming out soon. I had a lot of fun writing it. I did it article on Pol and Carini. And so when that comes out, I'll let you know. Otherwise, you can find me at Frauded by TLC, or my personal page is just Frauded if you're interested in any of those things that I do over there. I would like to take a minute to shout out our recent patrons for we still haven't come up with the name for these. The people who join our Patreon, what's their name? You're just going to have to declare it.
Well, no, we were going to have a contest.
And nobody came to me, so I guess we just decide.
Did we post it?
We're gonna have to take this offline because I got some ideas.
Okay, new patrons since last week are, let's see, we have Jamie, Stephanie, Callum, Alyssa, Letice, Kristen, Mia, Heather, Hillary, Laura, Hannah, Allison, Laura, Elizabeth, Christy, Dan, Nicole, Jennifer. Thank you guys. That's a lot for the last week. Thank you guys. I hope you are enjoying the content you're hearing over there on the Patreon. Like I said earlier, we have 4 episodes a month currently that come out. And for $3 a month, you get access to all of those as well as our past catalog. If you join at the $5 level, I will send you stickers. For all of you guys who've joined in the last month or two, those all went out in the mail. I finally got to a chance to do all of those, and I ended up throwing a lot of double sets of stickers and a bunch of them. So those will be out in the mail. So start looking for those. If you joined and you didn't get stickers and you don't get anything in the next week or so, hit me up. So I'll make sure you get your stickers. So we appreciate you joining us over there. And
I'd just like to give a plug for the stickers. They stay attached, so they're really good.
Do they have excellent bonding powers?
Their bondage is primo.
That's amazing.
And we've got some good changes that are coming to the Patreon. I know I keep saying this every week, but it hasn't come to fruition quite yet. But we're going to be adding more content, and there'll be lots more options for you. So a lot of good stuff coming, and some good interviews, some good giveaways. Not all of it is 90-day related. Some of it is 90-day related. And it's not all Japanese bondage talk. I promise you.
Might be disappointing to some folks.
It's not all that stuff, but we do, it is our take on a lot of variety of topics. If you like hearing us banter about varieties of topics, that's where you can get that content. And we have a lot of fun over there. I'm also having a giveaway on my Frauded by TLC. awesome prize pack. I'm doing a 100,000 follower giveaway, and I'm very, very close to hitting 100,000 followers. As soon as I do, I will pick a winner from the giveaway posts. And it's a huge prize pack, which includes a 6-month subscription to the Patreon, as well as guest hosting an episode of the Patreon. And a bunch of other awesome prizes are included in that. So go see my Frauded by TLC giveaway posts, and you can get more information on that. So if you're not already following me, please do so, and let's get me to 100,000 and get this giveaway off the ground.
Awesome. Well, you can find me at 90 Day Fiance Today on Instagram and High Functioning Millennial on YouTube.
And you guys can find me at my website, which is askthevisaofficer.com. A variety of services are available regarding your visa issues. You can find The Agency Show on YouTube. And then if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's at The Real Agency.
And I forgot to mention, if you join the Patreon, you have access to the Patreon Facebook page, but also the Discord chat we have, which is one of the places you can find Agent C to talk to him. He's very active over there, as well as Hetero Life Mate is over there as well, for those of you who care about such things. It's another avenue to talk to them, and it's a pretty active chat, so we have lots of fun stuff happening over there. So that is our show for today. If you are enjoying what you're hearing, please jump on over to Apple Podcasts and give us a 5-star rating and review. We would very much appreciate it. We are the Fraudcast, and we are dumpster diving, so you don't have to.